What kind of miracle drugs?
The kind that work miracles
Oh, wow.
and cure
all the
diseases.
Cure all drugs.
all the
Cure all
disease.
drugs.
Cure all disease. That's incredible. You know, what a deal. I suppose I'll go tell our governors back on Earth that we ought to allow you access to Earth peacefully to come take Ryodan and Godzilla back with you.
Yes, that sounds great. Okay, bye-bye now. Okay, good. Are they gone?
yeah, exactly. That is exactly how they do it.
Hi, everybody. Nate here. I just wanted to let you guys know that in this episode we had some problems with my microphone, and I was able to salvage everything. Normally we would scrap an episode for that reason, but we had so much fun with this one, and Robby was such a great guest that we did whatever we could to save it. So there might be some parts where my audio is a little bit less than ideal, but I hope that you guys can still enjoy the episode regardless of that. Thank you very much. Enjoy the episode. My name is Nate.
My name is Mike.
My name is Rob.
And what the hell was that?
What the hell was that?
What the hell was that?
Yeah.
I'm going to refrain from saying an interesting movie because after listening to several of our episodes, I find that I
Your go-to.
follow up what the hell was that with an interesting movie more times than not.
If it's any consolation, anytime you ask me what the hell was that, I respond with what the hell was that in varying tones.
Yeah, come on, Mike.
Yeah, I don't, what the hell's that all about?
So today we are joined by our friend Rob,
Hello.
and we are very happy to have him.
Uh-huh.
And Rob is a very interesting guest, not only because they're an interesting person, but because they also do independent film from time to time.
Yeah, I occasionally, kind of part-time on weekends, work as a production sound mixer and boom op. Basically just the audio guy on sets.
Right.
So I went to school for film and shit too, which is why I do.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I've worked on like features, I've worked on shorts, I've worked on web series that haven't gone anywhere, I've worked on TV pilots that haven't gone anywhere.
Right.
But yeah.
That seems like somewhat of the nature of the business.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that just kind of falls to the wayside, and it's really not anyone's fault or anyone's
it's just there's so many like moving parts that have to align just perfectly.
It's way more complicated than even I know how. Like I like audio because it's just very simple. It's like get good audio and then you're done. That's your job. Like that's it.
Was there any like show pilot that you worked on that you were just like, oh well, there's no way right off the bat, just like not a chance for this one?
Yeah, absolutely. There was some early stuff I worked on that I was like, I'm not going to name names or anything, but
right, of course.
It was just like, I was like day one, I was like, oh, this is what's happening. Okay. So we'll get through this week and then I never have to think about this again.
Yeah, right.
So,
I think this says a lot about the way our minds function, Mike, you and I.
Sure.
Because your first instinct was like, what was the worst thing you've ever done? Where I was going to be like, is there anything that you really enjoyed? Are there any? So I will follow up this comment with the question. Are there any like specific things you worked on that you kind of like is maybe the highlight that you've worked on so far?
yes, there's a lot of like shorts that I've done with some friends that like, I'll be honest, the product itself isn't the thing I've gotten most out of it. It's like the people I've met.
No, absolutely.
And not to be cliche, but like the friends you make along the way type
absolutely,
of thing.
Yeah.
But it's
that's
like
the real movie.
At this point, yeah. At this point, I haven't like really applied for any sort of work for quite some time. Like even before like pandemic and everything.
Right.
It's just kind of been my friends being like, "Hey, we're shooting this thing. Can you do it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I'm like, I like working with these people. Like it's fun to work with them, and it's a good flow of thing working like because there's some productions I've worked on where it's like we're on one scene for like 8 hours when we were supposed to go through like 6 that day. And that those days are rough, but to name a few productions, there's I worked on a feature called Delaware Shore that had like a theatrical release in Delaware that I went to with my parents one night and then my friends another night, And when I went with my parents, for some reason the projector was messed up.
Oh no!
So it was just like, I don't even understand what was happening, but there were just like different colored lines going across the screen. Like
how was the audio though?
Dead. Well, that's the thing. Is like it was like weird dead pixel stuff, and like it was just like really glitching out and stuff. And we were like in the theater, like, what the fuck are we watching? And we left, and my mom was like, well, it sounded great.
I was gonna say, it's like you could be like, well, everything really, I did was phenomenal.
Like it's really weird that happened, and it kind of sucks that my parents saw like that with that sort of like visuals. But on the other hand, it really highlighted my work.
Yeah.
So there was that. There was a feature I did, which was kind of like a drama, and that was one of like the roughest shoots I'd ever been on.
Really?
Because it was like 20 days over the course of like 2 months. And it was like, I wasn't expecting it to be as like wild, or not wild, that's the wrong word, but like as just like strenuous as it was. Because it was like 20-hour days, like 16 to 20-hour days. And we were just like, which I wasn't mentally prepared for. But like once you get into it, it's kind of like, all right, well, we're here now. We're doing this thing. Let's just do it. And I just remember one night we were out shooting. It was like, just like an actor driving a car. The camera guy was in the passenger seat. The director and I were in the back seat. And we were just driving around Pennsylvania and just getting like somber shots of the actor just like, oh, in the car, driving with like neon signs behind him and shit. And I'm sitting there, I look at my phone, it's like 3 a.m. and I'm like, this is what I'm doing right now. Like this is pretty cool. I'm fucking exhausted though. Like it's a weird balance of like just being totally tired and totally exhausted, but then like afterwards being like, yeah, I just did that.
Yeah.
So it's fun, but like that was like a shoot where I was like, maybe I don't want to do this like a full-time thing. Like I really liked just doing it like part-time and with friends and stuff.
That makes sense. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Does your experience with producing audio-visual content, does it end at audio, or have you like done any other types of like production type things?
I mean, I've done during this pandemic, which has been going on for a minute.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm in a band.
Yes. That's what I was curious about.
Driving Underwater plug. Driving Underwater band on Instagram. Okay. No, so we've done live streams and stuff, and so I've done. I basically shot those and edited those visuals and audio for all of them.
Did you do the music video as well?
Yes, I did. For Ellen.
Yes, I think it's for Ellen.
Yeah, with a Halloween.
Yes,
one.
Yes,
yeah,
okay. I was thinking about that a lot today, actually.
Yeah, we shot that on our phones and like an old camcorder I had. And it's funny because my brother gave me like I don't know camera shit at all. So I'm like just kind of going off, like just kind of going. And my brother gave me something that looked like a DSLR camera. And I'm like, oh, we could use this to shoot the video. And he was like, it's very old and it's not good. Yeah. But you can use it. And I was like, cool. Because we wanted to kind of have this like kind of like grainy VHS kind of
sometimes you have to lean into those types of things.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, it's old and kind of grainy and whatever. So hopefully this works, you know? And what I realized was when he said it was awful, he really meant it was awful. Because it couldn't really shoot at night. And so I got home the next night. I think we shot over like one weekend. It was like a Saturday and Sunday. And I got home that Saturday and like looked at the footage and I was like, we can't use any of this.
Ooh, yeah.
Can't use any of this because it was just so dark.
We had a very similar thing the first attempt that we had for the music video that I was just showing you.
Yeah.
Where it was like the first attempt that we had of Evan in front of the green screen. It was just like the lighting was so terrible. And like even the framing was bad, and it was literally all unusable. So we had to just like be like, all right, well, neither of us are free for another 2 weeks, so I guess we're not starting it until then. Actually,
yeah. And the only footage that we were able to like salvage, and I was able to like kind of brighten up without it being like too weird, was the shot of like when Will's at the front door, and he just like pulls out a mic and is singing to that's his wife Kelsey in the doorway, and then G and I pop up behind him.
Yes, I love that.
We shot that with that old camera, and it only kind of worked because we had like the porch light on.
Yeah.
But everything inside with like the orange Halloween lighting and stuff, like it was just so dark, and I could brighten it up, but you can't really produce
so
light
much,
in post. You know, it's like
Yeah.
you can only do so much. So then like the next night we had to redo some of the shots that we did and shoot a whole bunch more.
Yeah.
And in the middle of it, I went and got a tattoo because I had a tattoo scheduled.
Yeah.
And so we got back, and there's some shots of me with I have the Gillman mask on. There's some shots of me, and you can see like the shirt. I got this one, the balloon,
Right.
and I have like, you can see like cling wrap on my arm, and it's because that's after I got it done.
Right.
Oh, I'll have to watch that again and
Yeah.
like just pay close attention
I
to
don't
your
know.
arm.
I'm pretty sure you can see it in a couple of shots, but yeah, there's just like cling wrap on my arm.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, that's so cool. And so listeners, please go check out Driving Underwater. Check out their music video for Ellen, and keep an eye out for what they're doing. And send our love to Will and G, Rob.
Right,
Absolutely.
and understand how above and beyond the qualifications for this show you have gone.
Yeah.
that is by far the most experienced.
Hey, we have a bona fide actor right here.
No, that's not true.
An
true.
actor's an actor.
And actors and actors and actors.
Exactly.
Yeah. Once, always, I suppose. Yeah. But no, so, you'll probably be able to shed some light, or at least have a take that's a bit more informed than my own, which is like...
Because, we can't add that light in post.
Yeah, right? You say this type of stuff. Yeah, no. I'm a very surface level kind of viewer.
And that's
just
okay.
how I do. Yeah, I like to think that's okay.
Well, now you have my affirmation. So
Well, thank you. Nate, you're
Yeah.
always here for me.
There's a lot of times I'll watch stuff and I'll just like go to like the technical side and be like, how'd they do that? And like we were talking about earlier, but with this movie, like I like watching older movies because it's like, oh, I wonder how they did that. Or like,
practical stuff is so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I absolutely love that kind of stuff. Well, with that, I don't know if you guys have thought about this too much, but
All right.
yeah, how would you
have to think we
describe
do,
this
right?
movie? Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, believe it or not, we're not just having a nice conversation with our friend. Yeah, so in a phrase, a few words, how would you describe that movie?
I guess I want to go with... I can't call... because I'm so ignorant to this type of... the history of these types of films and everything like that, for me, it's the first, like, monster super fight film I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Right? But it has, like, a subplot of, like, alien politics, I guess, within there. Well, I guess if I'm being honest, like, that's the main plot. The side plot, like, the subplot is the monster super fight, right? Like, that's...
I was expecting so much more Godzilla fighting in this than there was.
You really
yeah, because this is interesting. We made it, like, a good, like, 25 minutes into the film, and then you eventually were just like, and this is a Godzilla film? And we were like,
Godzilla movie?
It's also kind of funny that you say that, because before we started watching the movie, you and I briefly were discussing our thoughts on like the newer Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
And one thing that is heard very often when talking about those Godzilla movies is like, yeah, like they're pretty good, but like there's just not enough Godzilla screen time. Like it's not like the old ones. I'm like, it's kind of like the old ones, you know?
Yeah, evidently, right?
Kind of exactly like the old ones. A lot of human stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of human stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess for me, just endearing.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
a joy. It's an absolute joy.
It's so charming.
Yeah.
It is, yeah, charming. Very well said. I think it has so much charm to it.
Yeah.
You look like you looked at me like you were going to say something, so we just made
Godzilla's
uncomfortable
just
eye
adorable.
contact.
God, we should start a genre around Godzilla. I think this thing has legs.
Yeah, somebody should do that. Huh? It's a lot of money to be made there. Well, yeah, that's one of the things that's really interesting too, because I am a very big Godzilla fan. For those of you who do not know, I have a Godzilla tattoo on my arm. I won't claim to know all of the history and trivia of Godzilla, but I do know a fair amount. And it's really interesting because the original Godzilla movie, if you do not know, is an allegory for nuclear weapons. And it's a very, very strong political and powerful movie, and it's phenomenal. It really is a great movie, and I could sing the praises of it all day. But the interesting thing is that you have this movie that, again, is a very profound and powerful movie, and then just as time goes on, this thing that was originally this warning of the dangers of nuclear weapons becomes like a superhero.
Yeah.
And it's really, really interesting. And even in more recent times, especially when you look at the Japanese Godzilla movies as opposed to the American ones, because I believe the latest Japanese Godzilla movie was Shin Godzilla, which is also very good if you have not seen it.
I have not. But I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah, it's really cool. And that one is, again, it's like a statement on the like corruption and ineptitude, I believe is the word, of the Japanese government. And again, it's just really interesting because I think that Godzilla can kind of be, or I'll put it this way.
Can really get into office and shake things up.
Absolutely. So I'll put it this way. I think that you can tell what the state of Japanese society is and their general disposition towards their culture is by the tone of the Godzilla movies that they are releasing at that time frame.
Whatever the elephant, or I guess Godzilla in the room is at their current societal point.
Yeah, I guess like by 65, they were like, you know what, things are going pretty good. Like, you know,
I guess there's not much to complain about.
Right?
What if aliens from space?
Yeah, their biggest problem was like, what are we going to do when the aliens come?
Their biggest problem was like one of like the director's like cousins was having a marriage to somebody that was just like a failed inventor. And it's like, fuck this guy. They're like, oh, come on, he's not that bad. And they're like, all right, fine.
What if there was a planet right next to Jupiter? Called Planet X.
Yeah, the space race was heating up. They're like, oh, what wonders they might see in the future.
Well, I guess with that, speaking of Planet X, are we ready to start talking about this plot? Dive right in?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Anybody want to take the helm, or should I do it?
You kick it off.
I was gonna say I'm gonna be way more just interjecting than plot summary because like
perfectly fine.
Near the end of it, I was like, because I've listened to episodes. I'm like, I could not summarize this plot if you asked me to.
To be fair, that's half the fun.
Right.
You get to a point where you're like, I will have you know that the edited versions that go out to the internet are a lot different than how the conversation goes in this bedroom.
And we thank you for it.
Yes. So, with that, far off in the galaxy, near perhaps the largest planet in our solar system, is another unknown planet until now. Planet X.
Ba-ba.
There's an expedition being made to the fabled Planet X.
Ba-ba.
And we have our brave astronauts, Fuji and Glenn.
Yeah.
The two of them are making this pilgrimage to Planet X, and they and meanwhile on Planet Earth, scientists are doing something.
Doing something, yeah.
Doing something.
Running numbers, trying to get them there in record time. Mm-hmm. They are on their expedition to Planet X. And as they're on their way to Planet X, they're radioing with Mission Control down on Earth. And Mission Control is like, all right, we're plugging in your numbers and your coordinates and telling you your projected time. Adjust your angle.
To Major Glenn.
Yeah. Ground control. Yes, exactly. And so basically, they're like, all right, we're adjusting your angle like 0.5 of some unit, and you should get there in like 24 hours or so. And Fuji and Glenn are like, that's cool. And then Fuji's like, oh, by the way, is my sister, who also works for space, there? And and so the director turns directly to Fuji's sister, who gives the signal like, tell him I'm not here, just to know. And then the director turns back. They're on a video chat, so I don't know what he thought he was getting away with here, because he does a full like 90-degree turn directly to his sister, and she's like, no, I'm not here. Then he turns back to camera, and he's like, no, she's not here right now. And then Fuji's like, okay, let me just give you a message to tell her, though. Tell her not to rush into anything. And the director's like, it's pretty vague. What does that mean? He's like, I'll handle it when I get back. And he's like, okay, I'll tell her, I guess. And his sister's like, because she's in the room. She just kind of like shakes her head, and it's like, oh, whatever. So they hang up from the space call, and the director goes to sit down, and Fuji's sister brings him some tea, because I guess that's just how they do things at the space station. And as she's pouring him the tea, she's like, my brother is constantly just trying to control my social life like the men in the olden days used to do, and I just don't care for it, not at all, no sir. And the director is like, yeah, I take it you found yourself a boyfriend, and Fuji does not approve. And she goes, yes, he doesn't like him very much. And he's like, what does your boyfriend do? And she goes, he's an inventor.
We see our good old buddy, who I heard, well, let me actually, before I get into this, his name is not Terry, right?
It's not?
So that's the
Isn't
thing.
it?
So there was the scene where the one guy was like, Terry followed me.
Yeah,
but then there was
right.
another scene where like he was given a clearly Japanese name that also started with a T.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was like the Americanization of it or what. But
Terry's
I feel
what
like
I'm going with.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
one I
Terry-
remember.
Someone-
But feel free to look it up.
Someone also
I will
called
show
him
you.
Mr. Terry, and so I was like, is that a last name?
Oh, perhaps.
that could very much be it.
But
Let's find out.
Unclear.
Yeah, what I like is that, like, maybe I'm crazy, because when I hear someone go, like, oh, he's an inventor, I don't think, like, oh, well, that guy's wasting his time, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know? But, like, anytime
His last
you
name
see...
is Terry. Sorry, I didn't.
So what's his
interject.
first name?
Tetsuo, I believe.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's
that
call him
makes sense.
Terry.
All right. Yeah, so the thing about inventors in films seems to be that every time somebody's an inventor, it's just automatically implied that they're like a bumbling, unsuccessful inventor. Because
Yeah.
they're just like, once I invent my perpetual motion machine, and they're like, oh, you've been at it for 50 years. When are you going to give it up? And they're like, not until I return to sanity. And then
Well-
they have like an apron that's on sideways, or like a
Yeah.
cuckoo clock that springs undone or something like that, you know?
Garage full of failure.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
I guess to be fair, though, about this specific inventor is that he's like, I won't rest until my disc that makes a screeching noise is a success.
Yes, and it's still unclear what the original intent, like the noble intent for this thing was.
Yeah.
Or if there was a noble intent, because he is selling it to a toy company at some point.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if they're just like, oh, we want to buy your thing, and he's like, money?
Yeah.
That'll impress my girlfriend's brother.
Yeah.
I'm on board, or like whatever his original intent was for it. I don't know if it's really clear, because I think he calls it like the lady alarm at some
That's what
point
it
in the
sounded
film.
like
Did
to
he?
me.
Yeah, I don't know
Jesus
what
Christ.
that's all about. Because it's like a smoke alarm that you can activate with a button, more or less. Where it's just like, boo-loo-loo. It's an alarm. It's
I mean,
Get
to be
off my
clear
back,
though,
right?
it did not sound like boo to boo to boo. It was sounded like, and we discussed
Yes.
like a swarm of cicadas.
Cicada swarm. That's exactly what it sounded like. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Okay. Fair. The only siren noise I can make is boo-doo-doo.
But yeah, to be fair to that noise is like, I don't think any of us can do an impression of a cicada. So
Oh well, this is a time for my cicada farm.
This is where we just hold the microphone out the window.
yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have Terry, who
Yay.
is working on his lady alarm.
Yay.
And it's being very loud. And then I can only assume is his mother.
And who should appear but a lady? Invention successful.
I'm alarmed. She more or less comes up the stairs and says, "Hey, that alarm is really loud, and you could hear it from up the street, I assume, because
Yeah,
I'm in the house. So
Yeah.
how would I know
Yeah.
that? But all the same, you better stop that." And he's like, "Oh, ma."
Yeah. 'Cause she's like, that alarm's super loud. And he's like, oh, great. How loud is it? Like, that's exactly what I want. Yeah. And then she mentions how he's disrupting the baby on her back as she, like, does a full 180 spin to, like, show the
Does
baby.
a couple cartwheels.
She's like, she's sprinting through the house,
Yeah.
cleaning up stairs.
Yeah.
And the baby's just like, I don't understand any of this.
Yeah,
I am
right,
a child.
right. And the baby's completely at peace until there's some noise.
So here we have brave astronaut Fuji and Glenn, who have now arrived on Planet X, and after getting off of their ship in a very dramatic and artful way, they decide to claim this land, this foreign land, for Japan, America, and perhaps the UN.
And by land, of course, you mean the planet.
The planet land. So Fuji goes off to plant the flag to claim the territory, And so as he does so, as he places down the flag, he notices some footprints. And so then he uses his astronaut radio helmet and says, "Glenn, you better watch out. There are some footprints here." And then about 2 seconds of silence. Glenn. And then a magical cylinder appears and says, "Fear not, Fuji, I am a cylinder." And so then,
that is what happened.
And so then
Hello,
Fuji
alien cylinder. How nice
pulls
to
out
see
a
you.
gun to defend himself from said cylinder.
Yeah.
And then the cylinder
how cylinders
fires a
can get.
beam at his hand, and he
Yes.
goes, "Youch!" And then he says, "Get in the cylinder."
The cylinder yells, "Get in the cylinder."
Yeah,
Get
he says
in me.
exactly that. It's weird.
Enter my body.
Be one with me. And so he does that. And so he follows the order of the cylindrical voice and ends up in an underground bunker.
Yeah, because the cylinder's like, we have your ship and Glenn, so like
We have
you
your
really-
ship and your Glenn.
Kind of shit out of luck up there.
Yeah, you might as
Fuji.
well,
And Fuji is, well, who am I to argue with that?
Right, exactly. And then do some weird framing where they're like, "Follow the light. The light will be your guide." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I guess I will." And then there's a series of hallways that like flash on and off, and
That
it's
were
real
definitely
spooky.
just the same hallway, filmed from different
Yeah,
angles,
yeah, it certainly seems
with like
that way.
a matte painting behind it.
Right.
Like this hallway goes on for a long time until you get to this point,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna run
Frankly-
into a wall.
I can't remember if there actually was theremin music playing behind it, but in my head, there
Ought to have been. Yeah.
I think there.
Yeah.
I think there might have been.
if not, there should have been. But he finally reaches the end of this light tunnel,
Hooray.
and I believe he is reunited with Glenn at this
Yep.
moment.
Glenn is there.
And they're like, "What's going on in this joint? See?" That's Glenn, because he is. Yeah.
And why?
Glenn does have a fun New York accent.
He does,
the
yeah,
whole
and
movie.
that was so clearly a New York accent. Oh, God, it's that time of the night where like everything's kind of a little funny.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But so he's reunited with Glenn.
Right.
They say, "What's going on here?" And then aliens
Aliens.
come and join them, and
my
they're
God.
all wearing matching outfits, and they're very neat.
As alien societies do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these aliens inform them that above, on the surface, there is a monster. One that perhaps some Godzilla fans would be familiar with. They prefer to hit as Monster Zero, but it is better known, and the astronauts are well familiar with this, is King Ghidorah. And yeah, so King Ghidorah terrorizes the surface of this planet.
Yeah.
And
lightning breath.
with his
Yeah.
vast lightning breath. And the inhabitants of Planet X have had to live underground to avoid King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
And
the lightning breath.
despite their phenomenal, amazing advanced technology and the
Yes.
fact that they have completely eradicated all disease,
Yay.
but they're stuck underground. And so they don't want to be stuck underground anymore.
Yeah,
you know,
get to that
they've
surface.
yeah, they want to get to that sweet, sweet moon-like surface.
Yep.
And so to do so, they strike up a deal with these astronauts. And by strike up a deal, I mean they say, "We have your ship. Do this thing and leave, and we'll give you your ship back."
And also,
We will negotiate some terms. So I'm just saying they don't really have much of a choice because they say, "Okay, we'll give you this thing."
no, yeah.
But
they
also,
didn't
if
have
you
to be
say
so
no,
nice.
I mean, we have your ship,
yeah,
so
where are you
good
going?
luck.
Nowhere. You
Well,
can go up
they're-
on the surface and like fist fight Ghidorah if you want.
Yeah.
Which Godzilla does later.
Yeah, well, that's I think what they want is like, we're gonna send you back, but we need Godzilla and
Yes, and Rodan.
Rodan, yes.
Yeah,
And
so Godzilla and Rodan are still on Earth,
Yay.
and our brave Earth astronauts might not know where these monsters are,
Yeah, I mean, Glenn makes a point to say so much. He's like, we don't even know where Godzilla and Rodan are.
but the super smart
That's how he says
advanced
it.
aliens,
Yeah, no, it is.
the super smart advanced aliens of Planet X know exactly where they are
Huh.
and tell them.
Wow.
And they say,
hey, go get Godzilla and Rodan for us, or at least go tell your governments to let us do that.
Yes.
And we'll give you miracle drugs. Okay, bye-bye now.
What kind of miracle drugs?
The kind that work miracles?
Oh, wow.
And cure
all the diseases.
Cure all drugs.
all the
cure all
disease.
drugs.
Cure all disease. That's incredible. You know, what a deal. I suppose I'll go tell our governors back on Earth that we ought to allow you access to Earth peacefully to come take Ryodan and Godzilla back with you.
Yes, that sounds great. Okay, bye-bye now. Okay, good. Are they gone?
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly how they do it, too. They just start fucking laughing after speaking, like, whatever they want to interpret as their alien language. They just make a series of incoherent phonemes and then just laugh, and it's very interesting.
It was very out of nowhere.
Yeah, 100%.
Just like
It does have, like, a laser boot up noise to it.
And it kind of like,
That's
it
how they
sounded
laugh.
like it ended with like a cough. Like it didn't end on like a,
Yeah,
it was
what
like,
I love
wasn't maniacal.
what I love
Yeah.
too was just like it felt like he did the laugh and then it just like hung there on him for a second. Like the
Yeah.
camera was just like, we are not leaving you right now.
We gotta pad some time.
Yeah.
which also that reminds me, before we leave this scene on Planet X, when they were doing their negotiations,
Right.
the astronauts are sitting there, and all of the lights dim down, and they're put in this kind of like force field type thing. And they can't hear outside of it. It's completely soundproof, nor can they see what's going on.
Oh,
and,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And Glenn stands up and bumps his head, and it's a riot. But but anyway, I just want to say that I like to think that the aliens, because we can only assume that they're like, all right, cool. So the evil plan that we don't want the people to hear,
Right.
Do you guys want to act out what that conversation might have went like?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
What
For
the
sure,
evil
for
plan
sure.
was?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Mike, you be the controller guy, the main guy.
Okay. And I'll say, I'll start by clicking on the activated bubble. All right, the bubble is on.
Man, these guys are ugly, huh?
That seems outside of my nature to comment on. I
You are
feel
right.
no emotion. I am dictated only by the computer.
And if I did feel emotions, that would make me angry.
It is time to laugh menacingly now.
That felt a bit overdone. When we laugh again in the future after they leave, we'll shorten it a little bit. It feels a little bit more appropriate that way. I wonder if they've registered that they're in the bubble. Boop. Oh, yep, okay. They understand that they're in our force field bubble now. Yes, good. Wonderful. So the plan is clear.
We all understand this plan that we've
yes,
discussed.
but
And we will talk
should,
about step one now, being
that
bring the monsters here,
and then
So that
take
we-
the monsters back. Yeah.
yes, of course.
Yes.
Just like we
yeah,
discussed.
that was the plan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't like bring the monsters to Planet X and then we can invade.
Yeah, no,
because
no.
the monsters aren't there. They're like,
Yeah.
Wait,
Bring them-
perhaps we should bring King Ghidorah to Earth.
Yes, but only after going to Earth, getting Rodan and Godzilla, and bringing them back here.
But
Well,
that
they-
does seem like a lot of extra steps, considering that our plan ends with Ghidorah on Earth. Why don't we just bring Ghidorah to Earth, considering we're going to conquer it in the first place?
Because we have to manipulate Godzilla and Rodan's emotions to make them feel abandoned by their Earth people.
yes.
And then use magnets.
we will control them with our magnetic fields.
Yes, but if that doesn't work, we should try to convert them to our side emotionally.
Yeah.
Something I have no understanding of.
But, my lord, excuse me for speaking out of turn.
No, please.
Perhaps it would be easier to just go to Earth and then do our magnetic
How
manipulation.
dare you?
Do you have investment in fuel stocks? What is what is your concern?
Well, you see, I have a completely platonic, non-emotional date. And I would like to keep that appointment if possible, sir.
Oh, you're that character.
Oh, yeah. Shouldn't you be on Earth? Oh,
Already?
wait, no, I think I have you confused with another one. Sorry. Sorry, you understand. With our species.
We all wear the same hats.
We also wear the same hats.
Little antennas.
Yes. and one of our two sexes look entirely alike, apparently.
Yeah.
As we all know.
Your lack of being able to distinguish us makes me angry.
Yes, well, fortunately enough, there are plenty of the same-faced fish in the sea.
I was trying to end it with perhaps you. Emotion, destroy her.
Destroy. You cannot
Good scene,
feel emotion
everybody.
without the prerequisite forms.
Good scene, everybody. That was good. All right. So anyway,
So the bubble gets dropped.
yeah,
Conversation having been over.
yeah, and then everything happens is
Take our
as we
medical
said.
drugs and go back to Earth and allow us access to Earth.
Yes, sir. And then they get on their ship and they go back to Earth.
Yeah, and I don't know if they say anything about, like, do we trust them? I don't think they do.
No, I think they're pretty
just
much like,
wow, how
what a bunch
cool.
of stand-up fellows.
Yeah, how cool
Yeah.
is it that they give us miracle drugs, huh?
I was more impressed with just the travel time between Jupiter, essentially
yeah.
Jupiter and
Yeah.
Earth, and it was
100%.
just like a day and a half.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's so weird because they make a big deal later when they're on the Planet X People's spaceship and they're like, we're traveling at 1/10 the speed of light.
Yeah.
And they're like, that is incredible. We can't travel nearly that fast. But I don't know how much of an improvement that is, like, practically, because it seems like they can just hop back and forth between Earth and Jupiter just fine on their own right now.
Yeah.
It took like an hour.
Yeah. It's like, well, I'm going to Jupiter, and then when I come back, I guess I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is a very fair point because they're like, wow, you guys did it so fast. But clearly they were able to do it fast enough.
Yeah, just fine. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Meanwhile, back on Earth, there's a
at
lot of meanwhile.
Space Team.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. Basically, the man who made the lady alarm gets approached by the vice
lady.
president. Yeah, a lady.
I was excited.
After setting off his alarm, presumably, who's like, wow, is that an alarm? I felt compelled to come offer you a contract for the rights and exclusive property of your patent over this device here for 10,000 currency.
And here's the best part. We'll get all of the patents and all the information, but you won't get paid until we decide to do something with it.
You'll get paid as soon as we air our first commercial for this toy.
We're just gonna hang on to it.
But in the meantime,
Hope that's cool.
in the meantime, we'll have the exclusive rights for your invention here.
And so that they strike up a great deal. Terry, as you can tell, is a great business negotiator.
Uh-huh.
Really knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
I
he's
get no money
business
right
savvy.
now, and you get all claim to my intellectual property. I love it.
Where do I
Sign
sign?
me up. And so then we have our brave astronauts who have made it back to Earth, and they are having a council meeting of sorts with political people, I assume, where they are discussing the proposition that has been brought forth to them by the people of Planet X. Should we trust these people?
Oh,
I guess. or
Sure.
something? That's what the political people are more or less. They're like,
Right.
it's certainly something to consider. Dinner time. And so they show up. So first Glenn and Fuji go to the bar, and they're waiting for Fuji's sister and her inventor boyfriend.
Terry.
And Terry. Yes.
Terry.
And they're like,
The man, the myth, the legend.
they're always late. And
Yes.
then they show up late, and they go, "Are we late?" And they go, "Yeah, you
Yeah.
were late." And then they go and sit down
Very.
and have dinner. And then Fuji says, "Terry, I hate you." And then Terry says,
I don't think you're much of a man, Terry. You know,
says, "Yes, sir." And then Glenn says, "Good luck, Terry. I have a date." And then he leaves.
Yeah, because like Fuji's like, I don't think much of you, Terry, and Terry's like, I understand that, and I feel like you're probably justified in that somewhat. And then like Fuji's sister is like, you don't have to agree with him when he says that.
Terry's like, I get that a lot. It's cool. Like,
Right.
no, dude, say something.
Right.
Like,
And Glenn's like, well, I got a date I got to get to, and then leans into Terry and is like, good luck, my man. Anyway, see ya. I'm going on a date.
finger guns his way out of the room. Glenn is just one cool cat.
Yeah, he just has that vibe about him, doesn't he? Yeah.
Sure does.
Well,
Not-
Fuji leaves, and then Terry and I feel so weird only referring to her as Fuji's sister.
you want me to look up the name?
Yeah, because we know the names of the three other lead
Like
males
main
here,
characters,
and
yeah.
It feels like a dick move to be like Glenn, Terry, Fuji, and Fuji's sister.
Haruno?
All right, let's go Haruno or something. I'm going to go Haruno and not try so hard. Okay, so Haruno and Terry are leaving. And Haruno's like, so what's the deal with, like, the contract? And Terry's like, well, I haven't gotten any of the money yet. And she's more or less like, so
That's pretty dumb.
Yeah, right. She's like, so what's the deal with that contract? Yeah. And he's like, I'll go see them and see what the deal is with my contract and what they plan on doing with my invention. And I don't know I don't know if the next scene is him actually going to them, but he does go
Might
to
as
them.
well. Let's just.
Yeah, so he goes to them and runs into the person at the front, and he's like, "Hey, you bought my like lady alarm invention from me, and I'm just curious what the deal is with that, or what y'all intend on doing with it." And then she like radios back to the boss guy, who's like, "Oh yeah, the lady alarm thing, right? What are we doing with that?" He wants to know, and then just kind of out of left field takes the papers for like the schematics for it and then just burns them and doesn't show it to him. He just does it off screen, not off screen, but like away from his sight. And I guess it just implies that they don't intend on doing much there with those schematics.
They don't really care.
They don't want this machine to see the light of day for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Huh.
So then I believe we have Fuji and Glenn.
I love the pauses when we can't remember names. It's my favorite part by far.
Yeah, it's really funny. So we have Fuji and Glenn who are going on a nice long drive, I believe. And Glenn has been driving for most of this time.
Yeah.
And so he pulls over, and Fuji says, "What are we doing?" And Glenn says, "You drive. I'm getting tired." And
right.
Fuji says, "Okay." And so then they switch seats, and then Glenn says, "Actually, this is where I want us to be. I was at a nice little bungalow with my date last night, and I saw the guy from Planet X." And he goes, "Are you sure you weren't dreaming?"
Right, right.
Says, No, you can tell when it's a dream." He says, "Well, why didn't your girlfriend see him?" "Well, that's the weird thing. She says I was murmuring in my sleep."
Right.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, you know when you're dreaming because then you wake up." And it's
Right.
like, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I guess after you wake up in retrospect, you know it was a dream. And he's saying, like, he's woken up and doesn't feel that it was a dream in retrospect. So therefore, it must not have been a dream. But my girlfriend says it was a dream. So I don't know what to think.
What do you think, Fuji? And he's like, shut up. I don't know.
He's like, "Oh no, we're here with the army now."
Yeah, so I believe at this point that's when they start seeing the Godzilla water.
Yeah, bubbling. Lake.
That, yeah. Because they're out there on that cliff anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you see like a light coming from the water, and you can only assume it is radioactive energy.
Radioactive.
But then a spaceship comes out, and everybody's like, "Oh, a spaceship!" And then military people come, and then non-military people come.
Yep.
And then 3 spaceships are there,
Yep.
and then 1 spaceship lands on the beach.
Yep.
And out of said spaceship come 5 familiar aliens.
Planet Xers.
It doesn't help that they all look the same, but these ones are
Exolites.
familiar for other reasons,
Yeah.
being that we have seen them before.
And we are. What are those other reasons, Nate? Please.
Well, the main reason being that they all look the
Where
same,
the-
so they look familiar.
yeah, right.
The other one being that we actually have seen these specific
They have the
aliens.
same exact outfits, and their ships look like they could float in a bathtub.
Yeah.
I want to know what the choice was behind making this species women all look the same and then men different. I don't know why they decided to go with that. That seems weird. Like, what is? That seems like a weird
My take
writing
on
choice.
It, maybe I am misunderstanding, but I was kind of under the impression that like the men were supposed to also be identical, because the women, while they like were probably like done by the same actress or however they did
Yeah,
that.
I feel like
they're
they had twins, and they were just like, we got to use it like this.
That's
Like-
fair. Yeah. But anyway,
Well, because Glenn says explicitly, all your women look the same.
I didn't catch that, but yeah.
Yeah,
My
later on, yeah.
interpretation at first was like that. Well, the women don't typically seem to be wearing like the eye visor and the hat and this
True.
and that. So I thought that was like their
The eye
like,
visor's
all
part
the guys
of the anatomy.
look.
Right,
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Because they're computers.
Yeah. That was my thought, but I
Robots.
could be entirely wrong.
Oh, robots.
Well, I think that take is wrong, Nate. I don't know how to tell you, buddy, but I'd rather tell you straight up like this than, coddle your feelings.
Well, I hate you for it,
colleague.
but we have to continue this podcast one way or another.
So, familiar faces arrive from Spaceship X. I'm going to say Spaceship X.
Sure.
Yeah. The other two could be Y and Z. And then approach, and Glenn and Fuji are more like, hey, so we can't help but notice that we didn't really say we didn't get back to you with the news that we were cool with you coming onto Earth, which in retrospect is probably what that meeting was all about when they first got back. Them being like, should we allow these Planet Xers to come to our planet peacefully? And then people going, yay. And so they're like, hey, we never told you that it was cool, and yet here you are hiding on our planet. So that's a bit strange. We're cool with it, but just wanted to let you know it would have been better if you arrived after we told you explicitly. Like,
you should have called. Yeah. Why didn't you call?
Yeah, exactly.
We were by the phone. Yeah. We were home all day.
Right. We had a whole meeting about it, and we gave you time. So I just, it just feels a bit inconsiderate. But maybe you just don't understand the conventions of Earth, and the Planet Xers are like, yes, that.
We're computers. We emotion, courtesy.
Yeah, sorry. And that's the only reason that we were here in any way, and the only capacity we're here is our 3 spaceships. So,
and then Planet X computer people more or less say, okay, we're here to take Godzilla and Rodan. Okay, we got them now with our bubble technology. Okay, well, you 3, being the 3 astronaut people, come with us. And they say, okay.
Yeah. Because they're like, we're going to take Godzilla and Rodan. And Glenn and Fuji are like, man, the logistics behind that are going to be a nightmare. Won't their size be a problem? And the Planet Xers are like, no. And they're like, won't their weight be a problem?
No.
Not at all.
Won't it slow you down at all carrying these monsters?
We'll actually be faster.
Huh. Well, okay then. I guess there's no concern for anything here then. Won't they be flailing and making it difficult for you to traverse them across the galaxies into your home planet?
No.
Wow. So with that, they abduct them. Classic, with the beams, and they just kind of float on up a little bit.
What with the beams and whatnot.
Thank you. Yes, exactly.
I don't know what voice that was, but yeah.
Yeah, so they are preserved in like a Kinder Egg type of
it really
way.
is.
Like they have a little translucent egg around them, and Godzilla's holding his tail in the most adorable kind of way, and his feet are up.
And Rodan is in some kind of chrysalis, it seems.
Yeah, Rodan is like sleeping like a bat, more or less, with like the wings covering the body and things like that. So they stay that way as their little figurines are abducted and taken away to Planet X.
And then they make it to Planet X.
With their speed being noted being 1/10 the speed of light. How impressive.
Wow.
My God, their technology.
And so then they dump off Godzilla and Rodan.
Yep.
And then they wake them up with the special wake-up beam.
Yeah. Yeah, the special wake-up beam. Oh, Christ.
To which Godzilla flails awake.
Yeah.
And he does his
He sits up like he was
patented,
having a nightmare where like he was falling out of a plane and like had the wake-up moment where he kind of like, oh, yeah, right, exactly.
Godzilla notifies that he is awake by doing the classic Godzilla victory pose.
Yep.
Which I wish I could show you, but alas, I can't.
But
he
audio.
does the dance proper after they defeat King Ghidorah or make him like run away or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he jumps and does the arm thing. I can't do the pose. I don't know it off the top of my head.
But yeah, so then I think pretty much right off the bat, Ghidorah says, "Hey, there's fresh meat over here for me to kill."
Familiar fresh meat.
Yeah, and then starts shooting
Part
light.
2.
And then Godzilla keeps ducking and doing the like peek over cover and fire a radioactive beam. And
Yeah, like he's playing Call of Duty or something.
Yeah, he's utilizing cover very well.
Yeah.
And they do that.
Rodan's getting his bearings.
And then there is a meeting between the Planet X people and the Earthlings.
Uh-huh.
And I guess while the Planet X people were more or less all watching the television to see the fight between Godzilla, Rodan, and Ghidorah, the Glenn and Fuji decide to sneak away.
Well, no, they don't sneak away.
I was gonna say the astronauts, but then I realized
sorry.
what's his name was
Yeah, because the fucking like communicator guy's there as well, whose name I don't know. But basically, from what I understand, the way this plays out is they deliver Godzilla and Rodan, and then the fighting starts commencing between Godzilla and Rodan, tagging against Ghidorah. And the Planet X people turn to the astronauts and like, the battle is as good as won. We thank you for defeating Ghidorah. Like, as they're shouting at each other in the background and shooting lightning and stuff, they're like, we couldn't have defeated him without your help, astronauts. Thank you. And they're still fighting in the background. So I guess they're just really confident in the skills of Godzilla.
I'm now going to turn around and look you right in the eye as I thank you. What?
Is that when they give them the cure?
Yeah,
to everything.
Like, oh, thank you. Here is the cure to all drugs. It's
this
a big
styrofoam block of gold or whatever.
It's like the tape reel to our EP.
Yeah, that's a record.
Yeah.
They give them the tape reel for their EP, and they're like, "This will cure all disease."
Free, man.
They're like, track 5 will really cure you.
Curing ourselves on vibes, buddy.
Yeah, right.
Cures the ailments of the mind, man. Before we get to this, let's flash to Earth. And we see a man in a suit who is riding a boat to a little dock. He gets off said boat onto the dock and starts walking along a path. And who else is hidden in this boat other than... Fuck, what's his name?
Terry.
And so Terry does some sneaking and
What's
sleuthing.
being done with my toy?
And he does some hiding behind the rocks. He does some sweet spy action. And then we see the suited man go up to the, I believe, the same businessman who burned the blueprint. And he says, "Sir, Terry followed me."
Oh yeah, because Terry was like trying to be all like Splinter Cell about it, but the guy was like, "Yeah, Terry's here."
And this is when it is revealed that the person who negotiated the amazing contract with Terry, the lady, is an alien.
And also Glenn's girlfriend.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, I did a different noise.
So she is there, and we know that there are some spies from Planet X on Earth.
Gasp. Glenn wasn't dreaming.
They were here the whole time.
At a cozy bed and breakfast, nonetheless.
Yeah, a nice little cottage on the in the hills.
And so then Terry is quickly dealt with by the Planet X spies and put into a amazing soundproof room that has soundproof bars.
This is one of my favorite parts, is that they're like, the cell is soundproof, even the bars. It's like, explain yourself right now. What do you mean? Even the bars.
Like, if you hit the bars, nothing happens. Like, if you did the old, like, tin cup thing against them, like, no sound would be produced.
It would just be muted.
Yeah, right.
Because the bars are soundproof.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, what does soundproof mean to that? Like, is the room made of styrofoam? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, it's a foam?
Like, sound absorbing? Yeah. I don't know. We'll expand on that later.
Yeah.
So then, we go to our astronauts. And again, we have the what? Where are the astronauts?
Yeah, exactly.
And then we see Glenn and
they had to
Fuji.
go to the bathroom.
Glenn and Fuji snooping around the compound, and they are quickly discovered. But they make a getaway into a cylindrical elevator after pressing all the buttons, and they end up in the...
And they are followed... Well, before that, they are followed by guards who also clearly do not know how to use the elevator and hit, like, pretty much the same exact buttons.
Yeah, because they go up to the elevator, and the panel is, like, 16 buttons in a rectangle, and so they're pushing them, trying to figure out, like, what's the down button, or whatever the fuck, right? And so eventually they figure it out, and then the guards run up behind them and seem to also, at random, be pushing buttons on their own console. Just like, how do we do this?
So, like, this new panel, they didn't tell us how to...
Yeah, right. Infinite technology, cures to all diseases, and yet we can't get a single 2-button up-down elevator panel. What's this all about?
The humans surely are superior to us computers.
Yeah, right. Meddling bureaucracy. We'll take the stairs.
So while they take the cylindrical stairs, the astronauts take the cylindrical elevator down to a cavern that is filled with gold. Because we also have been told that to the planet Xers, gold is not anything that is really of value to them. Water is far more precious on this planet than
And that
gold.
seriously does not play into this
Anything
at
at all?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Makes no sense.
But yeah, so while they're looking at this gold, and Glenn makes sure to note that if this cavern had air conditioning, he would live there.
I'd live in it.
He sees who else but his beautiful date, whose name I don't know.
Soon to be wife.
Soon to be wife.
Yeah, she was like begging for a proposal in the car before he left.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, I kind of forgot.
And he's
about
like, I'll get married to you when I get back from space in about a week. Woo! Yeah.
that. And so he
What a
goes-
great second date.
Yeah, it must have gone really well.
Yeah.
He's in the military. That's how it works.
Yeah, right.
And so we have Glenn who goes, "My beautiful fiance, what are you doing on this planet, huh?"
And she
then
looks
she's
at
like,
him
huh?
like, yeah, who the hell are you, guy?
And then she's like, "What are you talking about?" And then
What's a
another-
fiance?
What's really incredible is Glenn looks at the woman he's presuming he's about to marry and just goes, "What's wrong? Don't you remember?" It's like, all right, if that's not a deal breaker immediately, I don't
Yeah.
know what is. If I go up to my fiance and I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" and she's like, "Who the hell are you?" I'm not gonna be like, "Whoa, what, oh my god,
What a weird scenario we've
what's
found
going
ourselves
on?" I'm
in.
gonna be like, "I don't think we should get married yet. I feel like we got some stuff we
we
gotta
might
work
have
on."
rushed this a bit.
Yeah, facial recognition is probably step one.
Yeah.
And so then it is revealed that there is another woman that is is identical.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And so Glenn is confused as to how this could possibly be.
But Fuji seems to be putting it together here in the background
But it does not matter because several guards surround them.
as they try to run various directions. Guards appear right in those same directions.
And
surrounded.
they're captured. And then I think they more or less are like, you know what? We let you into our home. You just run amok.
Yeah.
You know, you just take your damn medicine and leave.
Yeah, they're like, why were you snooping around the compound? And they essentially were like, we're curious souls. And they were like, all right, get out of here.
Get out of here, you rascals.
Yeah, right. So they're like, all right, go back to Earth with your magic medicines.
And so they do. They go back to Earth with the magic medicine.
And as they boot up the rocket, they look at Godzilla's
Sad, dead
expressive
eyes.
eyes. Yeah, right.
It's strange how it's like a rubber suit, but his expression literally yells, "What the actual fuck?"
Yeah, right. Because he turns around and does his noise, like, or whatever the fuck it is, right?
Yeah.
And then Glenn or Fuji, I forget which one, is just like, Godzilla looks upset that we're abandoning
Is
them
he
here
angry
on
with
Planet
us?
X. Yeah. And I guess they're like, yeah, it's fine, even though he's very clearly like, the hell, guys? Like, you know, pretty much anything short of holding up a sign, you know, with
Yeah.
language on it, just like, don't leave me here, please.
Why?
Yeah, right.
I was
Why?
napping in the ocean.
right. It's like, you stole me from my home. You kidnapped me.
Yeah.
Brought me
Essentially
here.
put me in a dogfight.
Yeah.
Right. Woke me up to my mortal enemy that I have to team up with another previous enemy to take
who I
down.
just fucking fought in the last damn movie.
Yeah, right.
I just learned what space was.
Yeah, right. It's my first time leaving Earth, and you're leaving? You're not even waiting for me to wrap this up?
Yeah, so they give a somber goodbye to Godzilla,
Right.
and fly back to Earth. And so when they make it back to Earth, they go to that same parliamentary esque government place.
Yep.
And
The
they're
space
like,
office.
Yeah,
Space
yeah. And they're
office, I
like,
like
all
it.
right, it's time to play this block of gold that was given to us.
Yeah, because apparently the block of gold is like casing for like a film reel or like
Yeah.
a tape reel,
Yep.
rather.
And so,
It's their mixtape.
Yeah.
they're like, well, this clearly can't be anything but the recipe for our miracle drug.
Right.
So let's listen and see what we need, huh?
Yeah.
In the middle of
are
the
you
UN.
writing this down? We want to make sure we get all the ingredients that we need.
Yep.
So then they play the message, And at first, there's kind of radio silence, and they're like, "Uh-oh, I hope this thing works."
Right.
And then it's, "People of Earth, we are going to enslave you, and you will be our colony. That is all. Goodbye."
There's a bit of uncertainty at first because it's like, people of Earth, we demand that you follow our exact orders. And it's like, well, let's see where this goes. This could still be the recipe for all we know.
Yeah.
But
it's a very strict recipe.
Yeah, right. They're just demanding that we pay close attention. It's easy to mess this stuff up. Yeah, but no, they're exactly like, you're going to be a colony of Planet X. Earth will only exist as a colony of Planet X.
Resistance is futile. You know.
Just do what we say, it'll be fine.
I honestly wish dictators would just like drop that in. Like, does it need to be said? Like, we're gonna take you over. Resistance is futile. Anyway,
you guys have seen the movies. You know how these things go.
You know what the deal is here. Anyway, we're coming. Or are we already there? We could be your wife. Anyway.
But we're not, though. We're coming.
Yeah. but no, we're coming. What happens then is they arrive.
Do they? I was about to say, do they just show up?
Yeah, I think
like as they're listening to it, they're on their way back. To
I think
Earth.
More or less, the aliens just kind of start coming, and it's weird because I think they send some people and they start fucking stuff up or something. But then also the main guy's like, all right, we're gonna give them 28 hours. And I remember it was 28 because it was like a weird number. 28 hours before we attack.
Right, and they're like, King Ghidorah and Godzilla and Raiden are back on Earth under magnet mind control, and we're going to activate them and destroy your planet in 28 hours.
If you do not comply.
Yes, if you don't hand yourselves over to be a colony of us.
Yeah, because it was more of like it wasn't like, we're going to enslave you, we're taking over. It was like, wouldn't it be neat if we all just live together, but we were in charge?
Right. Join our
Wouldn't
mind
that be great?
Meld. Join our robot mind meld hive mind. It will be wonderful.
And then they're like, if not, though, we've got 3 monsters for you.
Yeah.
That could destroy shit.
Right, exactly. It's like, you've seen what these 3 monsters did individually.
Yeah.
Some stuff happens, and Glenn finds himself in the same soundproof question mark.
He's with his wife. Glenn is with his wife.
Oh, man, yeah.
You're so smart.
This is a big thing where he's talking to his fiance wife robot.
Yeah.
And he's like, I won't. Why do all the women look like you? I won't become one of your robots. Right. And he says robot, that's how he pronounces it.
He's like, all right, was marrying me part of your command function then? And she's like, no.
Yeah.
Love was not part of the program. And it's like, I want to marry you.
And he's like, I don't know, doll. It gets very that classic 50s
straight out of it. Yeah.
Please, all I want to do is serve you and be subservient to you.
Yeah.
Well, no, her pitch is, hey, look, life as us is not so bad. I can marry you, and you'll be spared the enslavement, and we can go back to Planet X, and you'll be, elevated to a higher life form. And Glenn's like, you just don't get humans, do ya?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about humans.
Humans?
Humans.
Let me tell you about human here. We ain't robots. All right, we don't know. we got too much feeling in our hearts, our souls.
And then during the argument, 50 of the aliens show up.
Yeah,
and they're like, "She's feeling.
Yeah,
kill her.
This cannot compute." And they zap her with their ray gun, and it takes a minute and a half for her to disintegrate or something.
But with her final goodbye to Glenn, she's like, I love you, I'll never forget Kokomo, and slips a note into his pocket, which is mysterious, and we'll see what happens. But she's like, I love you, Glenn. And they zap her to death.
Yeah.
And then she disintegrates. And then Glenn's like, the hell? Why did you have to kill her? And he's like, you're not allowed to get married without the proper forms. and then he's like, all right. And they're like, we're going to jail now.
So yeah, he goes to jail.
And he meets Terry in jail.
Terry? What are you doing in here?
This is crazy.
And Terry's like, there's no way out of here. Trust me. I've tried.
I've tried all of the exits.
I've thought of all my options, and as with most of my life, I've decided to give up.
Oh man, he's a
he's
true
like sitting
hero
on the
of the
floor,
people.
like in the fetal position.
Right, yeah, exactly.
He's like, "Did I mention the room is soundproof?"
Yeah, right.
Soundproof.
He's like, what's the soundproof and all that? He's like, yeah, all the walls are soundproof, and as mentioned before, even the bars. To which the entire room just went, huh? Like, what? How does that work? Because the bars are like the classic old-timey JSL bars, where it's like...
With holes.
Yeah, right.
With gaps of air.
Gaps that are like 3 times the size of those bars put together.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's a lot of space there.
Not to mention that in the scene that is going to be described in just a moment, the whole soundproofing thing kind of goes right out the window.
Yeah, it really does.
Right through the air gaps in the
So
the
you're
prison
telling me
door.
this whole cell is soundproof? Yes, but all noise we make can go right out the door to their ears. It's like, oh, alrighty.
Yeah, so after a little bit of searching around for an exit, the little note that was left in Glenn's pocket has fallen out and is on the ground.
Yes.
And so Terry notices this and picks it up and says, "What's this?" And they read it together with 3 hands on a piece of paper.
They're holding the piece of paper, and one of Terry's hands is just holding one of the corners so that the page is completely straight. So I guess the viewer could read it.
Yeah.
But like it's held up there for like 45 seconds, and it feels like an eternity.
And you hear a nice voiceover of the robot lady who goes, "Glenn, my love, I love you.
If you're
I
reading
have
this,
emotions
they've annihilated me for insubordinance.
Yeah.
and emotion."
And yeah, I'll never
This-
forget Kokomo.
Yeah.
It's does she tell
I
him
think she
about the
was
sound
like,
thing
We hate sound.
Right.
Use the thing.
at this frequency or something or whatever?
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know. In
Like it's-
some direct or indirect way, she says, use the high sound of perhaps an alarm of some
Use
sort.
the lady
Yeah.
alarm.
Whatever it is, it pretty much kicks Terry into gear because he's like, I've got a thing.
I have
Right.
just that thing that was in the paper.
I may have given them schematics, but I didn't give them my personal lady
Yeah.
alarm,
Which I keep on me at all times.
let me just reach into my coat pocket.
which they didn't check at all when they threw me into the Syria jail cell.
So they push the button.
Yeah. And he pushes the button, and Glenn, he's not actually like this, but might as well have been like, what are you pushing sound buttons for? This whole cell's soundproof. Didn't you hear us talk about it before?
And then I think that the guards weren't in the room, but then came into the room.
Right,
And were like,
right.
"Ah!"
They were like, what the
Joy.
fuck?
And then has like a tongue seizure. Yeah.
So then they steal the keys and open the door.
No, can we just linger and just try to describe a little bit more, in depth the guard's actual like facial contortions?
So there
as
was
he's
one
being
specific
killed by
guard
the
who
sound.
they did kind of the classic like his back's towards the jail cell
Yeah,
door,
so he's, like,
and they
choking
like
in
reach through and like they're
bar,
holding
yeah,
him,
yeah.
and then he puts the lady alarm right next to the guy's head, and it has been established as we have said that these aliens do not like the noise that
Right.
comes from this. It causes
Yes.
them physical pain, and so I guess the frequency being so close to his head caused him such immense pain that his tongue just like
Starts darting.
Well, I
into
think
his mouth.
Glenn had his arm out of the thing and had him in like a chokehold too.
Yeah.
So he was just like, "There's so much happening," and he looks just like a dead, like a
Yeah.
fish on land, like
Right.
just wiggling his tongue around,
Tongue darting.
Like,
It's absolutely insane.
it was a wild
Oh,
image.
I love it.
And
If there's
so-
anybody who's looking into this movie at all, just try to find that clip because it's gold. That along
Yeah.
with Godzilla's like hero jumping pose
Yeah,
when he
it's
defeats
phenomenal.
enemies. The two highlights.
Godzilla just getting up is a joy.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And so they make it out of
Yay.
that room, and they encounter 2 more guards, and they decide to take them on in hand-to-hand combat rather than their surefire weapon that
Yeah,
they've,
exactly.
they have on them.
Yeah, because Glenn hasn't gotten to punch a single person in this film, and I, as the viewer, go, "Can this guy kick ass or not?" Yeah, that's my question.
I
And
need
our
to know.
questions are answered. And so they do that, and then they run because there's people chasing them, and they get on the boat, and they
Yay.
start riding in the boat. And
It's-
they're, we're gonna get away! Hooray!
Well, not to interrupt though, it's interesting too because like Terry goes out first, and then Glenn's following a little after because he's beating people up.
Yeah.
But Terry goes out and immediately is like sort of captured by one.
Yeah.
And you think Terry, with the sound device, would be like, I'll just turn it on.
Yeah, no, he's
like, I can't do anything.
I've never seen combat. I'm freezing. I don't know what to do.
I'm freaking out. Glenn, help. And then Glenn comes by and helps, but we were all like, what about that device that you invented?
Only there was some way to get out of this exact scenario.
Right, because it just debilitates the two. And so anytime they don't immediately use it going out, where it's just like, what is there a battery life that we don't know about? Like, what's the deal here?
Or there's like a timer, like you use it once, and then there's
recharge.
like 5 minutes.
Yeah. You can only alarm so many ladies in a minute.
And so they're in the boat. Hooray! We're getting away! And then the aliens say they're on the boat, and then the spaceship blows up the boat.
They're like, oh, we have lasers for this.
And it explodes into a mist of
it looked like the boat was full of blood, and it was very, very strange.
Into a mist of wood shards and blood.
Blood mist.
They were like, well, our job is done.
Seriously, why was it red?
There's other weird explosions later that I noticed. I don't think I pointed them out, but there's like blue explosions too. It's like, what is happening?
Right, yeah. Whenever some like structure blows up, there is a weird like colored mist to it.
Yeah,
it's very strange.
But yeah, so they're dead. Except they're not, because they're smart and they hid in the water from the aliens. And so then they say, let's get out of here. And then they swim to shore.
They swim across this ocean pond.
I hope is not very long.
I hope they were on the swim team.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
So then they show up
fully dry.
I think in the lab, fully dry. They show up in a lab where Fuji
Fuji and some other
they're
people.
working on a way to break the magnetic field that's controlling Godzilla and the other monsters.
Right.
And so they show up there fully dry in I think new clothes too. They're wearing coats too. They had shirts,
haircuts.
Yeah, they were like we had to get
smoking cigars.
We had to get dressed up a little. Like we're not going to just show up drenched.
Right.
But then they're like,
I think that the Fuji and the other guy are like, look, we can stop magnetic things with this thing. If only we had some way to like amplify it or something.
Yeah.
And then Glenn comes in with, I have a thing to amplify things.
This
that
thing
stop
I
other
invented.
Things.
It's me. I did it. Fuji, approve.
Yeah.
They're like, look at this thing. It can break magnetic fields. And they're like, oh, can it break the aliens' magnetic field? And they're like, not yet.
Yeah. And they're like, if only we had something. Look, this thing.
Yeah, right.
Us to do it. And so long story short, they figure it out.
And they're like, we have a sound for the aliens and we have a magnet disruptor for the beasts. Let's launch our end game plan, baby.
And so I believe at this point, the aliens are like, okay, actually, we're not going to wait 28 hours. This is not looking good for us. Let's attack now.
Let's go now.
We have 23 hours left. The prisoners escaped. To hell with it. And then they go, that seems awfully rash and or emotional, as they lift their laser beam to zap all who don't comply with their emotionless way of conducting business. And the guy's like, me? No, this comes straight from Mother Brain computer. This is all very composed, and then slams very aggressively on the button to activate the monsters.
And activate they do.
Yay.
And we get to see Godzilla. We view him as a hero at this point. But Godzilla, no hero today. He is destroying things.
Total mind control.
Yeah. We get beautiful monster destroying city action, tanks firing, surface to air missiles firing in succession.
Hell yeah.
In all its beautiful glory.
And so then the military are trying to set up their magnet disruptor thing.
Yeah.
But the aliens are messing them up and stuff.
Well, they go to a radio DJ.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, welcome to the show.
Right, yeah.
And they play the screeching noise through the radio and tell everyone, blast that shit.
Yeah.
This is a public service
Pump up the jams, everybody. We're saving the world.
This is not a test. I'm going to play a terrible, awful, just mind-bendingly terrible noise. But what I want you to do is not turn it off. No, in fact, turn your volume dials up as high as they can manage.
Yeah.
For the good of undisclosed city.
Yeah.
And then Godzilla goes, and, like, kicks
there's a
over
lot
building.
There's a long time after just like watching models be destroyed by people in suits and puppets. It's a blast.
And the tanks go, and Godzilla goes, and then like it goes stomps on another.
And earlier I had like made fun of what is the other monster?
Rodan?
Rodan, yeah. I had made fun of Rodan. I was like, what is Rodan going to do? Just like cause gusts of wind
Yeah,
to happen? Is that what's
right.
that going to do? And then lo and behold,
What does he do?
He causes gusts of wind that destroy homes
Yeah.
and like buildings. And I'm like, oh, well, I should... maybe I should just shut up.
Like, have you ever seen the footage of like the shockwave after like a bomb like test type thing?
Yeah,
like,
that's
houses
exactly
just
what it
get
looked like.
Blown away. It's exactly like
And I was
that.
like, karma.
Holy
Cool.
God. Yeah, it's like, sorry, man. I won't make fun of your powers again. My God.
But yeah, so radio DJ, bad noise, make the aliens go, and then that gives the military enough time to set up their electromagnetic disruptor ray guns.
Yeah,
and
that they have 3 of, I think.
They have quite a few, and they start doing the thing. And then Godzilla and Rodan break free of their mind control.
Yay!
And then fight King Ghidorah, despite not being mind controlled anymore. Just fucking
killing.
hates
Yeah.
Godzilla and Rodan.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, right.
Wasn't there something at the beginning of the movie where they were like, Godzilla fought King Ghidorah before?
Yeah, there was
Yeah,
and now
Godzilla
he's
and
here.
the
Rodan.
movie prior to this one.
Yeah.
He had just fought.
So
King
it's like, I guess
Ghidorah.
they're like natural enemies.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're still here?
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
just start throwing fisticuffs.
Yeah.
Cuffs.
and that is like, that's not even just like simplifying. Oh, monster fighting. No, Godzilla
Starts
is like
throwing
throwing
jabs.
the old
He
1-2
starts
He's
throwing
shadow,
jabs.
shadow boxing, yeah.
From side to side. And it's
He
great.
has like hyper beams.
He's dodging and
Throw-
shit.
and his arms are by far the shortest limb appendage he has on him. His tail is longest, then his legs, which are still stubby, and then his arms. And he starts trying to throw those fists. It's
There-
incredible.
There's a shot where he like does like an uppercut and then he dodges and then he gets back in position and then there's a laser breath and then he uppercuts again and I was
Yeah.
like, God, to just see a boxing match with Godzilla, like it was so like natural. It was so
Yeah.
weird
Yeah,
how
he-
natural it looked
Yeah,
for him.
whoever's in that suit must have had some timing because, like, my
Just
God.
some training of like
yeah,
a few
right.
days of boxing training. It was like so funny.
We got to make this look fluid, don't you understand?
Yeah.
But yeah, they duke it out, and it ends with all 3 monsters being plunged into the deep ocean.
Yeah, a trio tumble down the flip side.
And
Yeah.
then King Ghidorah rises from the water and flies into space.
Yep.
And then
Godzilla and
Rodan.
I cannot remember his name. I don't know why. Every time
Deep blue.
they just don't get up.
Yeah, they just stay
And
down
it's
there.
very concerning.
They never
and then-
surface.
Meanwhile, Glenn, everyone's like celebrating, and Glenn is like stoked, and he's like, "I got to take a vacation."
And then the communicator guy, dude, is like, "Huh? Oh no, you don't. Not before getting a promotion."
Yeah, so we're giving you political office. And Glenn's
You're
like,
the ambassador.
Yeah, right. He's like, you're our #1 ambassador now.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
And Glenn's
He-
not pleased
he-
with this news, I guess. Yeah.
He really rolls his eyes, and you just hear that sound in your head.
right.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Roll credits.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
the end card comes up.
That's the Godzilla theme.
Okay.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I had assumed as much.
Yeah.
I just don't have the Godzilla theme.
But yeah, no.
So that was
Invasion of Astro Monster.
So now that we've made our way through the plot, let me ask you guys: was that enjoyable?
Oh, hell yeah.
yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
that is a phenomenal movie.
Absolute joy.
As I've said, I've watched it quite a few times in my life, and I don't think I said this while we were recording, but I had mentioned it to you too. That this is actually the movie that I saw that got me into Godzilla. This was the first movie that I saw with Godzilla in it that I remember. I remember it was at a point when Netflix had some Godzilla movies on
Right.
Netflix, and as I had explained to Robby, because I had a connection with King Kong because of some moments in my childhood. I wanted to look into Godzilla because Godzilla and King Kong through pop culture kind of go hand in hand.
Right.
So I just looked up Godzilla on Netflix, and I think I just picked the first movie that was there, and it was Invasion of Astro Monster, and it blew me away, and really it gave me a deep love for the series. And even as I don't know, a middle schooler, whatever age I was when that was, I remember even then being like, wow, what a silly and ridiculous movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was endearing and just very charming, as we've alluded to.
Yeah, I think charming for me is just the best word to describe this sort of thing, because it's like, it's just, they're using like all the technology for the time, and just like they're just going for it 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just so nice to see, like after like, you know, like every movie now is just a lot of CG and stuff, and like I mean some of that's necessary and whatnot, like not shitting on CG or anything like that, but like it's just like so nice to just see practical effects and just models. Like I was just so impressed with how many models they had.
Yeah.
Like, just all like the cars and stuff and
and like all of the buildings, like from what I can see, I mean, and I'm not an expert in these types of things, but like when you see the buildings like destroyed and stuff, like it's not just like a plastic like shell of like a building and there's nothing on the inside. It's like no, these are like it looks like these are made using the same techniques that legitimate buildings are like made out of, but just on a smaller scale.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is really phenomenal, you know?
Yeah, there's a really intuitive and kind of kinetic aspect to practical effects that allows you to appreciate it in a much with much less knowledge of the kind of field in general. Because like with CG, I have no doubt that there is immensely innovative things going on in a CG environment to make the things that you see. But as far as my ignorance of that field goes, as much as I see magnificent CG from one thing to the next, I don't understand the nuances enough to be able to be like, oh, that's really magnificent what they did there. It's incredible. But like with practical effects, there's an almost like art and crafts aspect that you can like understand, like, oh, how would I go about doing this? And you see like how they do it, and you can envision it much easier without needing to have that expertise of some kind of highly technical field like that.
Yeah, like during the fight scenes we were discussing like how we thought they were doing, like not Godzilla, because the Godzilla is like a dude in a suit, but like the other monsters
throwing
and
jabs like a champ.
Yeah. Like how they were doing the other monsters, and like when they were flying, you can see the strings, and like you would think that would be like a fault, but for me it was like part of the charm, where it's like
no, absolutely, it is really interesting. It's like and a lot of movies, I feel like you'd see that and you'd be like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
But no, with this, it's like you see that and you get excited. It's like, oh wow, look, like this is how they did it. That's so cool.
I think part of it might just be too, it's like it kind of feels like that's something like we could do, like that's something like people today too, because anyone can just film something on their phone and like make
really
something cool about it and put on YouTube. But like it feels like something like that where it's like obtainable. Yeah. And just like I think that's part of it.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's very true. I think that's one of the reasons why like the Godzilla movies are like so inspiring to people as well, because it is like the type of thing where it's like, like you say, it's like things that people can do, you know?
Yeah, because that's what's crazy. It's like it's all in the physical realm, right? Like it's not like digital stuff. So like anything that is done, when you think like, oh, how did they do that? It's very much like, oh, well, like we had to invent some kind of like rig or system or like something to make this work and make this seem like a sensible progression or perspective or something along those lines. So when you see like surprisingly nuanced movement in the two necks of Ghidorah outside of like the first neck, you find yourself being like, seriously, is this dude just like shoving his arms in there and like, contorting as much as possible, like waggling around?
How many strings are attached to this thing? Like it's just crazy to think about.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's again, it's really like innovative stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think what they could achieve, where it's just like, well, that looks like presumably they did a take of something and we're like, it doesn't look good enough. We got to like make it like better, you know. And then they kind of had to figure out systems and all, and from there, just like kind of sitting around and being like, how do we do this? And they resulted in something that is a surprisingly immersive movie for what it is, you know.
And that's a lot of what just like basic filmmaking is. It's like, how do we do this? Especially like independent films and like lower budget films,
right?
Where it's like, how do we get these shots we want and have them look the way we do on this budget.
Right.
And it's just like working like the best idea with what you've got.
Right.
You know? And sometimes that doesn't work, but like sometimes it's fantastic. So
yeah, practical solutions and stuff like that are just it's really like that is the magic in movie magic, you know.
Yeah.
Like I saw like a short video the other day of how a scene where I guess a character was like looking at another character like while in a closet or something, and like to film that rather than having, you know, a camera person be in a closet or whatever. They just had like blinds, like window blinds that were like situated kind of similar to that, where you could see through them as if it was like a like shuttered closet.
Right,
you know what I mean? And had like the camera peer through those, and it was significantly easier to film and looked exactly like that.
Yeah.
It's just like, again, I've said this kind of jokingly in other episodes and like referring to stuff, but it's legitimately it's practical solutions to practical problems.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's very cool.
There was a shoot I was working on. I think it was just like a short film, and we were like in a locker room, and we were trying to figure out a way to get this shot where it was like someone opening a locker door, and you were looking at them from inside the locker.
Right.
And there was a shelf in the locker, so we put it on there and saw how the shot was, and it wasn't the right level that we wanted it to be. So the cinematographer just got into the locker. She's kind of like a shorter girl. She just got into the locker and just like held it where she wanted it and just like did it like that.
Yeah.
And it's like shit like that where it's like, yeah, you just do it.
Yeah,
like it's like that's the solution. You just got to go for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is one thing with this movie is like, again, like, you know, we're sitting here, we're making fun of it, we're having a good time and everything. But, you know, as goofy as like some of the things about this movie might be, like even the plot and stuff, like it still is just like the fact that people made this movie happen, which, I mean, you could say this about any movie, but again, just with all the like the practical effects and the stuff that went into this, it really is amazing, in my opinion.
Well, and plus, Godzilla is adorable.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Godzilla is such a lovable character.
I don't know if like there was a point where they wanted to like lean into that, or if Godzilla is supposed to
absolutely.
be a menacing terror at this point. But Godzilla is adorable.
He's so cute and doofy looking.
Yeah, so
and especially they get like a close up on his eyes during the fight. I think he was like lying down or something, and they're just like darting around. Like the fact that they even had his eyes moving like that, and it wasn't
100%.
like just part of the rubber suit or whatever.
Right.
Like that in itself is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But like they just had it like darting around, and it was just like so like goofy and fun
Right.
and.
And the fact that he has like a fucking anime pose, it's incredible.
Yeah,
He has
his
a
dance.
hero pose. He
Yeah.
like jumps and does like a victory dance.
So good.
With arms.
So good.
It's great.
Yeah, no, it's very fun. Well, with that, would you guys like to read some reviews?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. 1.5 stars. This is from Danny on Letterboxd. The Rodan theme is kinda slaps, and that's the only thing that slaps in this movie.
Put that on the box set.
Yeah.
Very good. Mike, would you like to read yours next?
Yeah, actually, because it's also kind of relatively short, but it's a counter to the assertion that the only thing that slaps in this film is Rodan's theme. Jamal Sutton says, "Here are some pros to this film. Ghidorah and Rodan are in it again. Godzilla dances in it. It was not too long and not too short, and it had all new characters. Here are some cons for this movie. There are no cons for this movie."
Now, that's something I can agree with.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
I also appreciate the call out to the runtime.
Yeah.
Because, like,
right.
damn, I have missed just hour and a half
Yeah,
movies.
no, it is
Yeah.
really nice.
Because, like,
Yeah.
trying to watch stuff, like, new stuff now where everything's, like, 2 hours, I'm
Yeah.
like, do I have time to,
Yeah.
like, sit
Yeah.
down and watch? It's, yeah.
Well,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
gotten
it's
so
to this
nice.
Tell
point-
me about it when you have to recap it, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Nate and I, on the podcast, I find that one of my metrics now, because movies tend to be 2 hours, is like when I come back, a good signifier as to whether or not it was a good, entertaining movie or not is whether or not it felt like 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Often on bad movies, I'll find myself saying like, Nate will be like, "Oh, it was 2 hours," and I'll be like, "And it felt like every minute of it."
Yeah.
Like really, it did.
Or you're checking the time, and it's
Yeah.
like, it feels like it's been an hour, but it's been, like, 30 minutes.
And if you've been like, it's this weird kind of like subconscious condition you have after seeing movies that are like an hour and a half your entire life, where there's a certain time where your physiology almost responds in like it feels like an amount of time has elapsed that I'm used to films wrapping up at this point.
Yeah.
And it seems like we're just now getting to like the climax here.
Yeah.
And so like the denouement afterwards usually takes another
It feels like there's a whole
15
third
minutes.
act that's just starting now.
Right, exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So my review is 5 stars, and it's from a user on Google that goes by Kai Fan.
Like Dragon Ball Z? Kai?
I guess.
Okay.
Kai, and then all capital letters Fan, Fan.
Sure.
Again, this is going to be verbatim.
Mm-hmm.
My honest critical view.
I'm sorry. You said im?
I am.
Okay.
My honest critical view, I found this movie rather profoundly disturbing, yet frightening, therefore exciting. I do appreciate the monumental effort the director had invested in said film.
Okay.
Trash. Sincerely, Allah.
Sincerely.
Best regards.
Right.
I don't know. They signed as like Allah, like ALLAH.
Huh.
But yeah, that's that.
Interesting.
It's almost like saying, like, in the most respectful way, it was garbage. Thank you.
All right, would you like to read your
my last one, which again is 4.5 stars, on Letterboxd, is from an Oliver Gilbert, and it's kind of the best way to sum this up, I guess. The Godzilla dance is the best thing I've ever seen put to film, and I can't argue with that at all.
Yeah. So when they say
Accurate.
the dance, I assume they're talking about like
The jump.
victory pose.
Yeah, the
Yeah, that is my assumption.
Okay.
That's the only thing I could assume he's doing in the movie that
It's
could
his
be a
victory
dance.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he's like just boxing and wrecking
Right.
shit,
Yeah.
kicking.
Yeah.
He kicked so many models.
Yeah, right. Unless those swift lightning feet when he's throwing jabs at Kiyodora counts as dancing. Yeah.
Yeah. I just love this film.
Oh,
through and through. Like,
Yeah.
There's a reason that my band has a song named after this movie. That's because it's phenomenal.
Wow. Okay. So for reviews, like, what is there? How could I? I'll tell you what's going into this review. The sheer joy in my heart seeing these models interact with each other, whether it be army models or the monsters themselves. The wonderful outfits and shades that the aliens had, where all the parts that would directly protect their eyes from sunlight are actually carved out and left to be exposed fully to the outside world. Gotta love it. And besides that, I'm trying to think. No, those are probably my favorite parts. The subplots are perfectly enjoyable. All the characters are very fun. So, because of the sheer joy in my heart, this is going to have to get easily a out of. And I don't think there will be any dispute for that.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I'm smiling ear to ear right now because I agree so much.
100%.
Would you like to go, Robbie?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, similar to your review.
Right.
Just sheer joy.
Uh-huh.
Sheer fun and goofiness all around. Like the strange, like, technical issues, like the strange edits. We didn't really talk about the technical stuff where, like, the camera would just zoom in on things and zoom back out for, like, seemingly no reason. Like, I feel like they want it to be dramatic, but
integral.
like it didn't work in that way, but I still loved it.
Yeah.
My
like it was
headcanon is like they would do that to be like, hey, you paying attention?
yeah, just like people like sitting
Still got
and
you
watching but zoomed in. Like, I love that shit so much because it's
Yeah,
so
that's
weird. The
awesome.
rapid
Yeah.
editing of Godzilla's foot kicking 17 houses in a row. So much. It's just so much fun. So yeah, I think I would give it a out of.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and I couldn't agree more. Really.
Oh yeah, an excellent point. You're right about some of the stuff we didn't get to about just the sheer technical joy from a lot of the choices in this film.
Like just watching it for that aspect alone, putting like the silly plot and just like the goofiness of the fights and stuff aside, like it's just so much fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
Like for that reason alone.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's I want to say to really like anybody who is watching this or listening to this and and
I was
wants
going to say watching.
I mean, it does go on YouTube, but
True.
if anybody listening to this is just looking for a movie to watch and have a good time, I have to say I'm quite biased because, again, I'm a very big Godzilla fan.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is a movie that almost anybody can watch and have a good time.
Oh, heck
It's
yeah.
just, it exudes just like fun energy, and it's like so wacky and zany and over the top in all the right ways.
Right.
If you need a pick me up, it's like a good one to go
absolutely.
to.
That is so very true. Like
And
I could,
evidently, like Rodin's theme slaps. So
Yeah.
think about that.
yeah. So I could. This is definitely like you had a bad day at work and you need a comfort movie.
Sorry.
Right, exactly.
Then this is a great film for that, and I would highly recommend it. And so with that, without a question, this gets a out of. And that's that.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
I
All
can't
around.
I can't sing its praises well enough.
Right.
Yeah.
With that, we hope to see you next time. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Robby, for joining us again.
Oh, yes.
Please
Thank
listen to
you.
Driving Underwater. If you're in the Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey area, come and see a show of theirs. There's a good chance that we'll be there too.
Yep.
So
And also harass
come
the
hang
email
out.
to get on the podcast because we're always looking for people to come hop on in and do the joy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a fun time.
Absolutely. Of course.
Absolutely. It's
And
been a
you're
pleasure.
welcome to come back on whenever you want with any movie you want to watch.
I plan on it.
Yeah, beautiful.
And be sure to send your questions, suggestions, any of those types of things to our email.
Which
at
is?
WTHwasThat@gmail.com.
You're saying pod the hell WTH@gmail.com?
WTHwasThatPod@gmail.com.
One more time with that. I'm sorry. I don't think I heard you right. You're saying what the hell was that?
That's WTHwasThatPod@gmail.com.
I love it. Great name.
And we'll catch you next time.
Yeah.